Welcome back to the deep dive. We're so glad to have our favorite third person sitting at the table with us today.
Yes, welcome. We're talking directly to you, the learner.
Because today you are in for a total masterclass. Our mission for this session is to take a massive stack of campaign notes.
Along with character Bibles and session logs.
Right, from the Tahala Dungeons & Dragons campaign and just distill them down. We're turning the source material into a definitive guide on tactical storytelling and, well, heist mechanics.
It really is a masterclass in how to run a complex infiltration. We're looking specifically at the events of Session 6.
Titled The Rescue and the Convergence.
Exactly, and the stakes established in these logs, they just couldn't be higher. We're dissecting a high-tension prison break in Tahala, the City of Eagles.
Which features a split-party infiltration.
A desperate escape through a pitch-black underground river.
And an impending supernatural storm closing in on the harbor.
But the pacing is just incredible.
It completely subverts, it flips everything you might expect from a standard tabletop prison break. You know the cliches.
Oh, sure. Crawling through the sewers,
Yeah.
or the rogue failing one stealth roll and ruining the entire covert operation.
Right. But this session teases a much more brilliant concept, because sometimes the best way to break into a heavily guarded, militarized fortress isn't to scale the walls in the dead of night.
No. Sometimes the best way in is to literally drive a blood-stained prison wagon right through the front gates.
It is such an audacious strategy.
But to truly understand how a group of players pulls off that level of audacity without, getting their characters killed, we have to start outside the prison walls.
Looking at the chaotic moments right before the infiltration officially begins.
Right. So, let's paint the picture based on the session logs. We are in a gritty service lane behind a warehouse known as the Hull.
Down the lower docks of Tahala.
Yeah. It's pouring rain, the weather is miserable, and blinking through the shadows of this alleyway is Riva.
She is the leader of the Ebonhold Resistance Cell.
The notes describe her as a tiefling with dark brown skin, sweeping ram-like horns, and amber gold eyes.
A fierce, practical leader who dual-wields daggers. And sitting in this service lane, she spots her target.
An Iron Lion prison wagon. And this isn't just a wooden cart, it is heavily guarded.
You have Iron Lion enforcers.
The militant arm of the city's oppressive Golden Lion regime.
Standing watch. And inside the cage, manacled to a bench, is one of the player characters.
Daysteel Gabo, who had been captured during a previous session's disaster.
Okay, I have to pause here because I was reading through the character Bibles earlier, and with a name like Daysteel Gabo, I just assumed we were dealing with a goblin rogue or something similar.
If you look closely at the character sheets, there's brilliant little detail there. Daysteel Gabo is not a goblin at all.
Wait, really?
No, he is actually a human. Specifically, a small-sized human artificer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the name Gabo is strictly a street nickname he picked up. He is entirely human. And another crucial detail from his sheet that plays a huge role here, we cannot forget his mechanical companion.
Oh, right.
He has a mastiff-sized mechanical spider named Legs.
Sometimes referred to as Spider in the notes.
Exactly. And it is right there in the cage with him.
That drastically changes the visual. You have this small, grease-stained human bristling with hidden tinker's tools, sitting in a prison cage next to a giant robot spider.
And they're just waiting.
Because the rescue doesn't start with Riva charging the wagon, it starts with off-screen chaos.
What's fascinating here is the tactical use of split focus on a battlefield. Riva holds her position in the shadows.
She waits because a few streets over at a nearby warehouse, another resistance member named Boomer is executing his part of the plan.
He starts setting off explosives.
It is a massive, fiery disruption. The Iron Lion enforcers guarding the wagon naturally have their attention pulled entirely toward this sudden inferno.
Which gives Gabo the exact window he needs. With the guards distracted by the explosions, his artificer fingers go to work.
The text notes that he picks the locks on his heavy restraints in mere seconds.
These are locks that should take a trained thief several minutes to bypass.
But the manacles click open, he hits the cobblestones running, grabs a fallen blade from the mud, and throws himself into the fight.
The logs describe it as the desperate fury of someone who has decided that dying free is far better than living in a cage.
It is a brief, brutal skirmish. Riva, Gabo, Legs, and the hidden resistance fighters quickly overwhelm the distracted guards.
But the aftermath of this fight is where Riva's leadership and the overarching tactical storytelling really shines.
Instead of silencing all the guards to cover their tracks, Riva makes a highly calculated choice.
She deliberately lets the surviving Iron Lion enforcers scatter and run away into the city.
Okay, I have to push back on that. From a tactical standpoint, isn't that a terrible idea? You just ambushed a government transport. Letting the survivors run away means they're going to sound the alarm. Doesn't that completely compromise the entire operation?
In a standard stealth mission, yes, it would be a failure. But Riva is playing a longer game of psychological warfare.
Intimidate.
Exactly. She wants those survivors to run back to their commanding officer, a fearsome enforcer known as the Painted Fang.
She wants him to report that the Ebonhold resistance is no longer just hiding in the shadows.
They're hitting back hard and fast. It forces the regime to realize they are fighting a widespread rebellion, not just a few isolated criminals.
Okay, let's unpack this next part, because this is where the player characters pivot from being desperate fugitives to acting like seasoned operatives.
They have secured the wagon. They have rescued Gaba.
The logical next step for most D&D parties would be to abandon the wagon, duck into the alleyways, and try to sneak over the prison walls using ropes or magic.
But no. Bones, the Wood Elf monk, and Wraithen, the human sorcerer, stripped the uniforms off the unconscious Iron Lion enforcers and put them on.
It is the ultimate Trojan horse approach. They're taking the very tools of their oppressors and weaponizing them.
And the craziest visual of all, Gabo willingly climbs back into the prison cage.
He sits down on the bench, and he adjusts the manacles to make them look locked from a distance.
He puts himself back in the trap.
But again, I have to question the risk here. Driving a stolen wagon right up to a militarized prison gate seems incredibly reckless.
It is a massive risk.
What happens if a guard recognizes that Bones doesn't look like the usual driver or asks for a clearance code they don't have? Isn't this just begging for a total party wipe?
It's risky, but here is where the tactical tradecraft comes in, and it's a fundamental lesson for game design. Security systems, whether in a fantasy prison or a modern corporate building, are designed to catch anomalies.
They look for people sneaking in the shadows, grappling hooks on the walls, or unauthorized magic flares.
But a rain-slicked prison wagon with official Iron Lion stamps, carrying the correct shipping manifests, driven by people in the correct uniforms, transporting a manacled prisoner.
That is the opposite of an anomaly. It reminds me of those physical penetration testers who break into secure corporate banks just by carrying a ladder and wearing a high-vis vest.
If you look like you belong there, people's brains just edit you out of the threat matrix.
Exactly. And the players timed this exploit perfectly. They roll up to the prison gates right at the dawn shift change.
The guards are exhausted from standing in the freezing rain all night. Their cognitive load is depleted.
They're expecting a prisoner transfer, so their brains see exactly what they expect to see.
They take one glance at the paperwork, see the uniforms, and wave the wagon right through the front gates.
It perfectly exploits bureaucratic complacency.
As a storyteller, if you let your players forge the boring paperwork, you reward them for understanding the mundane psychology of the enemy.
It is so incredibly smart. Before that wagon rolls in, though, there's this haunting narrative beat where they part ways with Riva.
She stays behind in the alley with her crew, Brick and Clink.
She has to clean up the bodies and prepare for the immediate fallout, and she tells the party that she's getting ready for a real war, the kind that burns cities and drowns kings.
It sets an incredibly heavy tone for the rest of the session.
Yeah.
You realize that while the party is focused on this one heist, an entire citywide rebellion is sparking behind them.
It raises the narrative stakes beautifully. But right now, their immediate problem is navigating the interior of the prison.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Bones, Raven, and Gabo roll their Trojan horse into the main courtyard.
They're fully expecting that they're going to have to incite a riot to create enough cover to search for the rest of their split party.
But as they step out of the wagon, they realize they don't have to start a riot.
The prison is already tearing itself apart.
The world inside the walls is coming completely unglued. Cell doors are thrown open at random, prisoners are bolting on pure adrenaline, and the Golden Lion guards are entirely overwhelmed.
And this isn't just people throwing punches. The logs specify that desperate inmates with wild magic capabilities and necrotic spells are unleashing them simultaneously in close quarters.
You have panic sorcerers and warlocks firing off erratic spells.
Wow, so the magic system itself is feeding the riot.
Precisely. It is creating a highly volatile magical residue across the prison. The air is thick with ozone and the scent of decay from the necrotic blasts.
It looks less like a precision rescue and more like a powder keg detonating.
So our disguised trio, is navigating through this pandemonium, slipping past forgotten interrogation rooms and older stone corridors.
Until they find the property room. But the room has been thoroughly ransacked.
Armor straps are scattered everywhere, weapon racks are stripped bare.
And there are heavy boot prints and drag marks leading to a large iron grate in the floor that has been pulled askew.
This brings us to a highly satisfying narrative convergence.
Up to this point, the player party had been split for several sessions.
Bones, Raven, and Gabo were operating on the outside.
Meanwhile, Orthez, the Leonin paladin, and 3, the Tabaxi rogue, were trapped on the inside.
And as Bones and Gabo stand over this open grate, feeling the frigid air breathing up from the dark well below, they hear voices echoing up the shaft.
It's Orthez and 3, already descending into the depths.
The two halves of the party plan their respective infiltrations and escapes so perfectly that they literally meet in the middle of a magical riot that the inside team started.
It's incredible, but I want to pause and ask about the mechanics of this, because running a split party is notoriously difficult for a game master.
It is one of the heaviest burdens for a game master.
Yeah.
Usually a split party bogs the game down because players get bored waiting for their turn.
But here, the pacing is handled like a movie.
The game master likely cut back and forth between the two groups on high-tension cliffhangers. The outside group breaches the gate cut to the inside group, starting the riot.
The inside group pries open the great cut back to the outside group, finding the ransacked room.
It builds momentum so that when the convergence finally happens, it feels incredibly earned.
And even in the middle of this massive, magically charged prison riot, the outside team doesn't lose their cool. They remember their tradecraft.
That discipline is crucial. They're about to descend into this well, but they know the golden lions are hunting them.
So Gabo takes the time to drag that heavy iron grate back over the opening. He doesn't close it perfectly flush, but he leaves it just undisturbed enough to look like it belongs there.
Meanwhile, Bones uses his cloak to sweep debris and dust across the floor to cover their wet boot prints.
They are meticulously staging the crime scene. They want the guards to burst into that room, see the empty weapon racks, and assume the prisoners looted the gear and ran back out into the courtyard.
They want it to look like a looted, abandoned dead end.
It is a brilliant counter-investigation tactic to leave no trace.
It buys them a crucial commodity: time. And time is exactly what they need for the next phase of this escape, because descending into that well is a grueling task.
The sources describe it as a long, brutal climb.
It is an oppressive void of darkness down there. The ancient stone is slick with moisture and slime.
They are climbing down hand over hand, muscles burning, with zero safety net.
And when they finally hit the bottom, the scene is incredibly cinematic. Bones, Raven, and Gabo drop down into the pitch black and find Orthez and 3 standing waist-deep in a frigid underground river.
And what I love about this moment is what isn't said.
There are no big emotional monologues.
No grand, sweeping speeches about brotherhood or surviving against the odds. Just nods in the dark. The party is whole again.
Which is a powerful storytelling choice in itself. The lack of dialogue emphasizes the sheer physical exhaustion and the high-stakes reality of their situation.
They are reunited, yes, but they are not safe. They are standing in freezing water deep beneath a hostile, militarized fortress.
Every breath echoes in the dark.
So they let the river take them, and the descriptive language from the session logs detailing this journey is visceral.
It is a harrowing sensory experience. This is not a gentle boat ride to freedom.
The black water is dragging them violently through jagged, ancient rock.
You have to imagine the sensory deprivation of the darkness combined with the physical trauma of scraping your knuckles against unseen stone walls.
The freezing temperature of the water shocking their systems, their lungs burning as they are forced to hold their breath through submerged, flooded sections of the tunnel.
The ambient sound shifts from the rush of a steady current to a completely deafening, thunderous roar.
Until finally, they are violently expelled from the dark. They surface at the mouth of a hidden waterfall, right where this underground river empties out into the open sea.
And this brings us to the final apocalyptic visual of the session.
They are clinging to the wet stone at the threshold of the ocean, the river water hammering past them and spilling into the night.
And as they catch their breath and look out toward the harbor, they realize the sky is completely wrong.
The atmosphere of the game just shifts instantly from a tense, gritty heist into something cosmic and terrifying.
There is a supernatural storm wall crawling across the horizon.
The text describes it as a towering black-green curtain of clouds, and it's moving much faster than natural weather ever should.
The thunder isn't just loud, It's rolling out of sync with the flashes of lightning.
It has these deep, resonant bass notes that you feel rattling your ribcage before your ears even register the sound.
The logs describe it as feeling like something massive is beating on the sky from the other side of reality.
It's a localized cataclysm. The juxtaposition is striking. They just survived a claustrophobic physical struggle underground, only to emerge into a sprawling supernatural threat.
And yet, amidst this terrifying, unnatural storm, they spot their target. Moored at Pier 7, sitting right in the direct path of this approaching storm wall, is the Dauntless.
The Dauntless is this pristine, incredibly powerful Golden Lion patrol vessel. And ironically, despite its military value, it is lightly guarded.
Because the Golden Lion regime believes that their endless paperwork, their strict shipping manifests, and their official docking orders provide better protection than an actual full complement of guards on watch.
Their reliance on bureaucratic authority becomes their fatal flaw once again.
The system that oppresses the city is the very system the players are exploiting.
The party is holding fast to the stone, their muscles burning, their lungs aching from the river, and they are staring at this ship.
As the text beautifully frames it, they're not just staring at a vehicle for escape, they're staring at their future.
What a phenomenal ending to a session. Let's do a quick recap of the mechanics we've covered, because there is so much brilliant execution for any player or game master to admire here.
It starts with Boomer's explosive distraction, pulling the guard's focus.
Then we see Gabbo's rapid artificer lockpicking, followed immediately by Riva's calculated psychological warfare of letting the survivors run to spread fear.
Then the players execute the perfect Trojan horse. They utilize the enemy's uniforms, a blood-stained wagon, and the enemy's own bureaucratic routine to bypass traditional security and drive right through the front gates.
They navigate a massive prison riot fueled by volatile magic, perfectly timing their convergence with the rest of the split party at the well.
They demonstrate immense discipline to cover their tracks, staging the property room to look looted rather than exposing their escape route.
And finally, they survive a brutal sensory deprivation ride down an underground river, emerging at the edge of the sea just as a cosmic storm descends on the city.
Presenting them with their ultimate prize, the Dauntless.
It is a textbook example of tabletop role-playing firing on all cylinders.
It really is. And I'd love to ask you, listening to this, what stands out to you? Was it the sheer audacity of putting on the enemy uniforms and betting your life that a bored guard wouldn't check the wagon closely?
Or was it the meticulous discipline it took to stop in the middle of a magical riot and sweep away your footprints in the property room?
It is that delicate balance between wild, reckless risk and highly calculated caution that makes this narrative so compelling.
So what does this all mean? We have this incredibly tight heist narrative, but the session logs leave us with this massive looming question about the game world itself.
Remember that highly volatile magical residue we talked about?
All that necrotic energy and wild magic being unleashed by desperate prisoners during the riot. Well, this unnatural black-green storm wall with thunder that echoes out of sync with reality arrived at the exact moment the prison erupted into that magical chaos.
Is that just a coincidence?
Or does the massive release of wild magic inside Tahala act like a living magnet, drawing the cosmic storm toward the city in response to their breakout?
It is something fascinating to mull over as you think about how player agency can literally change the weather of a campaign world.
The environment itself acting as a mirror to the chaos of the characters' choices.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you, the learner, enjoyed this masterclass in tactical storytelling.
We highly encourage you to keep exploring the mechanics, the psychology, and the lore of your own favorite campaigns.
Until next time, keep your lockpicks handy, trust your mechanical spiders, and keep your wagons bloodstained.